All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome. To all the familiar faces. How we doing? Margin, Yolo, Aiden, Mike, Fade Doctor, Bob, Chef, Sal's, Golf Nut, good morning. Hunter, good morning, Hunter. Good morning, everyone. All right. Tuesday. Big opportunities again yesterday. Some great calls, some poor execution by me, but moving right on forward. That's yesterday. I don't know what to say about it. Everything looked great to stay long, and the stock I was in just did not want to go long. So, yeah, just had a really tough time yesterday with sitting in a underperforming stock. And the read on the NASDAQ we had, the gap fill long, all that stuff that we were talking about it's just working perfectly. So just didn't put myself in the right place yesterday to take advantage of the read that I had. Maybe should have just been more focused on trading the market. And so semis, should have stayed more focused on semis. And that's probably going to be, to be honest, after yesterday, part of me just looks like I'm going to be exclusively trading semiconductors, because it looks like semiconductors are really the only thing making huge moves out of the large cap names, right? Yesterday, really not much on everything else besides Nvidia, AMD, some Broadcom action, right? The semis are just the ones to be trading. So that was my bad yesterday. That was my mistake yesterday. Trading with the market yesterday, you had to be trading the semis, really. The semis were the ones that went, and so today I'm just going to look at them again. Some interesting action on the Bitcoin names as well, with the Bitcoin gap fill was completed and starting to push higher off of it. So Hood and Coinbase, interesting pullbacks yesterday, interesting opportunities there. Just going to stay away from those large cap tech names today, the Netflixes, the Metas, the Apples, Amazon and Google, sort of interesting, but it's all about semis, man. That 290 held on SMH. We're over 293 today. 293 holds would be a hold over all-time highs, which would, facilitate another big move. So, going to be eyes on semis today. Should have been more eyes on semis yesterday. That's a big mistake of mine yesterday, and that's really what crushes me, because the NASDAQ read that we had, the key level we had on the NASDAQ to get a pullback long at was absolutely spot on. And the upside this morning is fantastic. It is exactly as expected. As I look at the charts over there, look at that, right? Right off 23,425, right off the gap fill level. And unfortunately, it was pretty much just an all-day downside move that happened in the after hours. So a little bit tough for me yesterday, but moving forward, that's all we can do. We can't sulk in the past, and let's just see how we can make back our opportunities. So that's what we got to do. That's what we got to continue to go through these tough times. For me, this month has been probably one of the harder months, but we continue to show up, and that's really all I can do. So just sharing, just continuing to share my journey with you guys online. Sometimes it's tough to talk about these losses, but that is the reality. So hopefully me sharing the reality helps you as well. Press that like button before we start. Subscribe to the channel before we start as well. And let's jump right into it. So heading over to the circle. Heading over to the charts. You guys can see NASDAQ futures just absolutely ripping this morning. Beautiful pullback longs. Beautiful gap fill longs, just beautiful everything in terms of the technical analysis yesterday. You guys can see right here, right? Yesterday, we had a gap up. We talked about that gap up. We basically opened the market, right around this area. The market rejected some of these highs around the 500, 520 area, basically just gap filled the entire day. Had some really interesting long opportunities after I figured this was your gap fill intraday around 11 o'clock. So I figured, hey, maybe we can get our long after that gap fill. That did not happen. We just sort of zombie grinded lower the entire day for that gap fill move, which eventually led to this. So tough there yesterday. Looks like a little bit more of a futures trade than an options trade, unless I just took time with the options trade. But I didn't really have any expectations of swinging anything overnight yesterday because of just the outstanding risks on this market. So a really nice pullback, right? Really nice pullback back into the previous gap fill area. Great breakout and absolutely insane continuation today. So moving forward, we have another gap up here on the NASDAQ futures. The close of the gap fill would be down at the right here, back at the 500, 520 area. This would be another gap fill opportunity, right? Because this is all technically a gap up from the Friday close, which is here. And this is where we're trading now. So we're sitting on around a 100-point gap up here. This is all a gap here. Once the market opens, and possibly we could need another one of those gap fills, and then creates the next long opportunity. So going to be a little bit more cautious today again. Unfortunately, this market's sort of just ripping right now. And the pullback longs would be really nice back at these Friday highs, which would be right here, back at this low, which would be back at the NASDAQ futures open on Sunday, and then back at this consolidation back around that 23,520, 23,500. So this is where ideally I think I'd want to see a long opportunity arise. The same way I wanted to see a long opportunity arise off this yesterday. Unfortunately, it just was not as, I did not execute it to the best of my ability, clearly. But let's see if we can get another opportunity back at those lows. If not, we might just hold this 23,580, which is the all-time highs here, which is the hold level that's coming in right here all this morning, right? 23,580 just continues to hold. I'm sorry, Monday's highs, my bad. Yeah, not Friday. Monday's highs right here, yesterday's highs at 23,520 to 500. Or, right, it's just this overnight high right here, and you just see that hold at 580 today. So for me, it's either 580, right, or it's 520, 500. Those are the two spots. If you fail back under this 580 low from the pre-market today, you're likely going to see this sort of slide lower again and do that sort of zombie grind back to fill the gap, which could eventually, right, result in that next long. So just be aware that if we do break below this low today at 580, I would expect some gap fill action, which would bring you back down to the 500, 520 zone, which could then become a great opportunity. Okay? Before we go any deeper, let me go into the economic and earnings calendars. I know I failed to go. I went right into the charts here, but let's pull up the economic calendar to start. Today, we do have some JOLTS job openings data at 10 o'clock. So a little bit of patience today until 10 o'clock to see what the result is there. Home price index is at 9 o'clock here, right before the market opens. But we have that JOLTS at 10 o'clock, so just be aware of that. Tomorrow, we are going to open with some data in the morning, so just be aware of that on your swing trades. GDP tomorrow morning, 8:30, and then the FOMC event tomorrow as well. Of course, Thursday, PCE employment, average hourly earnings, and we will, just watch that as the days progress here. So, yeah, today, 10 o'clock, JOLTS. Let's be aware of that. Okay. Let's go to the earnings. On the earnings side, pull that up real quick. On the earnings side, we had some earnings this morning. Boeing, I think, did Boeing report this morning? I think they did. Yep, Boeing reported this morning, looking good. Shout out margin. That trade was great on your end, margin. Way to go. Boeing this morning, PayPal this morning, SoFi this morning. Let's look through a few of these real quick. So we had, I'll pull this up on my end. We had UNH. How did UNH report? UNH basically flat. SoFi did well. Did really well. SoFi straight up. Let's see. Where are we at? Are we at all-time highs on SoFi? Not quite. Ooh. Okay. All right, so big level here on SoFi, 25. So we're going to have to set an alert there. I'd set an alert over 25 on SoFi. That's going to be a big test up there. Boeing, nice upside move on Boeing. Boeing is up into, oh, it did tap a major, okay, yeah, it sort of pulled back down. It tapped a major weekly level here. If you look at the weekly chart on Boeing, take a look at this high at 243. That's pretty much exactly where it tapped and found some rejection. So you can see that 243 is going to be a very interesting spot. UPS, a little bit lower. UPS just has not really been a great stock, has it? My God. Yeah, UPS. It's not really a stock you want to be in, it looks like. So that's lower. Spotify, I think a great company, but obviously a little bit lower on earnings. But I love Spot. Spot, that's all I use. EPS miss. Wow, big EPS miss. Monthly active users up 11%. I'm interested to see what that was versus expectation. Sales beat pretty nice. Surprise loss as employee costs weak dollar ways. Wow, employee costs. Okay. Yeah, big surprise loss on profitability concerns linger. Interesting. Okay. Merck is a healthcare MRK. Lower on that. Procter and Gamble, basically flat. Tonight we got Visa, we got Starbucks. Tomorrow we have, tomorrow's the big one, Meta, Microsoft, Robinhood, Qualcomm, ARM. So some big names tomorrow. So let's just be aware of that as well. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into, we went over the NASDAQ, which is pretty self-explanatory today. This thing is on an absolute rope, and pullback longs continue to be the right call. Yesterday it was the right call again. Let's see where it can come in today. I loved the pullback to these previous highs. This was about as perfect as it gets. Previous high, previous high, previous high, and into a perfect low. So beautiful yesterday. It just hurts to sort of look at for me, man. I don't know. I didn't time it right. I didn't anticipate a full pullback day, I guess you could say. I didn't anticipate it to go down all day. I figured this little candle here at around 11 o'clock gave us that sort of gap fill and then long opportunity, and it wasn't until the last 10 minutes of the day that you started to get the juice. So tough one for me there, but I mean, it just hurt. The reason it hurt so much is because it's the exact read that I had, right? It's not like I was so wrong in the market. I was right. This happens a lot in your trading career where you're so right about the read and you just don't catch it. And so those are the ones that sting the most, because it was a very good read on the NASDAQ, just did not catch it correctly. So today, again, on the NASDAQ, let's see if we can get a pullback to that 580 spot, see if that holds. If that does not hold, then I like the gap fill back to here, 520, 500. I think that's the best gap fill. We'll go straight to the QQQ. QQQ did the same thing, pulled back to the gap fill level, which was 567. It was on the dot 567 yesterday. Here's your gap fill at 567. There's your low of day at 567. Absolutely perfect. Beautiful pullback, right? Turning into that long opportunity off the gap fill level. Just did not happen until the after-hour session, really, which is unfortunate. So today we're going to look for similar moves, right? Today we have a gap fill back at 568.60. We have a Sunday open at 569, so I like this little area right here as a potential pullback long. 568.60, 569 area, looking to see if we can get a pullback to that level and create the next long opportunity. That would be my favorite spot, either here or here. All right, those are my two favorite pullback longs. Now, for now, you can see we're just holding above this all-time high at 570.40. So there's three spots here, 570.40 for the hold above that, right? Deeper pullbacks to fill the gap at 569, 568.60, right? Or even a deeper pullback back to previous day lows for another opportunity off that low. Those are going to be the three spots I look for today, and I'm just going to have to try to stay patient and read price action to the best of my ability. S&P 500. So here's a little bit of a concern for the S&P. The S&P did underperform yesterday, probably because the whole market was going up off semiconductors, so the S&P just wasn't quite as strong. But you can see the S&P rejected that Friday high, moved lower into that 6310, 63 or 6410, 6400 zone. That's where you found the support yesterday. Now, the interesting thing that's happening today, my friends, is the reclaim of Friday's highs. So that's really what's very interesting to me. The reclaim of this Friday high is really where I'm interested. Anywhere between this 64.31 and the 64.29 area, anywhere within here is slightly interesting, right? Pretty much anywhere between this zone, you can see we have the Friday highs that we rejected and that we reclaimed. So this is sort of like your, inverse head and shoulder move here. You got, just longer. It was a longer than expected one. So you can see previous highs turning, previous highs right here, turning into rejections right here, and turning back into support right here. So what I'm interested in is a pullback to this level and see if this holds again. This is going to be an important hold. Do we turn Friday highs into new lows today? That's going to be a big question for me. All right, and I'd like to see us test that to see what happens there. Now, if you fail back under Friday's highs, then you're failing this again, right back down to that 64.10 level. So definitely want to see this Friday high turn into some kind of strong demand today. This is going to be a very important area. Now, the thing that's sort of concerning to me is take a look at where the ES is rejecting. The ES is rejecting exactly at that Sunday open gap, right? That Sunday open low. Look at that, at 64.42. Look at how this gap and that low of that gap up is turning into a rejection here on the ES this morning. So that is going to be right here, in my opinion. This is sort of like your NTZ today, right? This is sort of that no trade zone. I think you're going to want to see either a reclaim of 64.42, right? Or you're going to want to pull back to that 64.30, which you could look for that long, right? Or you're going to want to see a retest rejection underneath 64.30, right? So I'd be a little bit careful getting sort of chopped up in this area here today. I would probably want to get a pullback to the Friday high, which would also be a gap fill at the yesterday high, right? Which would be great, right? That's Friday high and Monday high lined up perfectly, which would be a gap fill and a pretty nice pullback long opportunity. Or you look for the reclaim of 64.42 above this high, above these lows right here, which would likely give you a move up into the 55 area, right? So those are my sort of reads right there. Really clean. Just have to execute it right. Really clean levels. Just have to execute it right. SPY ETF went a little bit deeper than expected, but really held around that Thursday high a day. So you can see right around here. I think this is probably the right way to put it. It's like right here, 636 to 6. I'm going to sort of put it like this. I think this is probably the proper way to read this one. The major level is right here at 636, right? At this Thursday high, at these lows right here. I think that's pretty damn clear. The level that we need to pull back and hold at, in my opinion today, is right here. The Friday high, the yesterday high, around that 637, 637.50 zone. So this is that pullback right here to gap fill, to go back to yesterday's highs, to go back to that Friday high, and see if we can turn that into a higher low. Right, here's yesterday's lows. You want to see a higher low form right here. If that can happen, right, and you get that higher low, then you can continue to build this thing higher once again. So I'd like to see that pullback and that hold come in around that 637, 637.50 area. Now the level that's rejecting once again is that Sunday futures open. You can see right there at that 639. Look at where this is rejecting, and look at where the ES is getting stuck, or the SPY is getting stuck below today. Now, if you can get above that 639.11 spot, and you can see that, then you're going back to the all-time high. So, pretty clean levels today, right? S&P 500, 64.42, this low right there. SPY, 639, right here, rejecting slightly. Pullbacks to the gap fill and the previous day highs on SPY, and that Friday high, right? And then on the ES, you can see Friday high, yesterday high, gap fill level, 64.30. That could be the nice A+ spot to be looking for down at that key level. So that's really the read. If that happens on the SPY, then you're probably coming back under this high. You're coming back down to this gap fill level around the 23,520 for that long on the NASDAQ. And then on the QQQ, I'd be looking for a pullback back to that 569 for that gap fill long as well. So let's see. Let's see how those play out. That's my reads on the futures, the SPY, the QQQ, the ES. Press the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's go to the SMH. SMH did pretty much exactly what we wanted today, and I think the SMH, you know, the reason, I would say the largest reason for my loss yesterday was I just trusted that the SMH and the NASDAQ strength would bring all tides higher, right? High tide rises all boats. That was sort of my mindset yesterday, and that just wasn't true. High tide did not rise all boats. High tide rised only the semiconductor boats. So that was really that was the pain point of my day yesterday, pretty much. So, you know, I stayed really bullish yesterday because the SMH just kept holding 290, but I should have just been long semis, right? It's just this stupid thing that I did. So semis, really nice hold over 290 all day. This was our exact read yesterday to say, hey, if semis hold over 290, you're going higher. This is exactly what happened. You held over 290 all day, you went higher. So just perfect. Really nice hold, reclaim of this previous high at 290, turning that back into support. That is a reclaim ripper, and it was beautiful. Now today, it's all about 293. 293, previous pretty much quadruple top highs. If you can get a pullback long at 293, you're staying long semiconductors. Now the only concern I have here is that you have you have ARM, and you have Qualcomm, right? Is it ARM and Qualcomm earnings? So that's going to affect semiconductors. You know, it's definitely not, those are definitely not the biggest semiconductors to be concerned about. So, you know, it's not Nvidia, it's not AMD, but it's still some big names, right? So just make sure you're aware of that. If you do stay long semis, make sure you're understanding of the earnings that are coming out. But today, 293 pullbacks, that's what you're looking for. IWM needs to get over that 226. It still has not. And then finally, Bitcoin filling the gap could be a very interesting opportunity here, guys. Watch some of those pullbacks on the crypto names today. You have this previous low, and look at how that low came in again. Right here, right here, right here, right? You have your little one of these, right? You have your gap. It got filled. This is very interesting. I'm definitely watching to see if this creates the next Bitcoin push. After filling this gap, holding these lows, creating a higher low off the daily 20. Does this start to build? I'm definitely watching names like Coinbase, like Hood today, to see if there were some, you know, some opportunities on those names if Bitcoin does get going again. Okay. All right. So that's that. Let's go to some individual equities. Tesla with an incredible day yesterday again. The break and hold above the daily 200 yesterday was the trade of the day by far. No questions asked. I mean, look at this break and retest of the daily 200 SMA yesterday. This was incredible. All right, previous high, rejection, break, retest long. That was awesome. So beautiful trade there on Tesla yesterday off the daily 200. Today, I'm sort of watching to see if Tesla can hold above this little high here. It's honestly, it could be anywhere between, in my opinion, this high right here, which is 324.65, to around, I'd say these highs from yesterday around 323. Seems it's a little bit messy there, but I'm going to be watching just sort of this zone to see if Tesla can turn these into higher lows, right? So you see these highs here, you see these lows, you see these lows, you see these highs. Can Tesla turn this into support here? If it can, I think you have more here, right? So what I'm watching today is a hold on Tesla again, above this demand zone, right, where it held yesterday pretty much, like right in here. You can see Tesla had a really nice reaction off that. It's like 322.60 as I get a little bit more fine-tuned here. 322.60. You can see we had that really clean hold, previous pre-market high, really clean hold there. Right at that low there. If Tesla can hold somewhere in this zone today, I think you can find another opportunity. If you can reclaim that daily 50, right, hold this demand, I think Tesla could go again. Now, it looks like Tesla's stalling out a little bit at the 330 spot, so I don't mind putting a little bit of supply at 330 because truly that is, what's causing a little bit of a failure there. So 330, you probably want to be aware of it right here at 330. Over 330, you're going 336, which would be a great watch. And then the pullback long yesterday was right at the daily 20, and that was sort of the idea yesterday. The pullback long off the daily 20, that's right here. Look at the daily 20 sitting right here. What a beautiful pullback long off the daily 20. Unbelievable. Beautiful trade yesterday. I mean, awesome technicals, awesome price action. Tesla is definitely, getting some juice back in it. So definitely going to start keeping this on my watch a little bit more. Maybe this is the name that gets me out of the weeds, over the last few weeks. Just haven't really gotten anything behind me, but interested to see if this can get going again. So today, going to watch this zone, look to see if we can hold this demand again. If we can, targeting that 330 high, targeting above that into 336. I think that would be a really nice watch to continue this move higher. Over 336, you're rocket fuel. Over 336. I think you're up into 350s, possibly going to that 368. So definitely keeping close tabs on this, watching pullbacks to see if that brings opportunity. Nvidia, so insane. I mean, just perfect. It was perfect. We talked about Nvidia holding 173, 174. Why did I not long it on that hold? I couldn't tell you. 173, 174. We said, hey, if it could hold this zone, look for it to be long. It did exactly that. It held it all day. You can see right here. 173, 174, just maintained the entire day. Consolidated pretty much for the entire trading day, which sort of sucked. But eventually, as the SMH found some steam into end of day, the Nvidia just takes off. So, beautiful move on Nvidia. Stock is just a monster. At this point, it's tough to recommend anything here, to be honest. Pretty extended, big gap up. The close of yesterday was right around this 177 spot, and I think, to be honest, that's where you're going to want to see this back to, at the very least. I think longing Nvidia anywhere above 177 is just a little bit of a chase now. You have this, all of this is a gap up, all of this is after hours action. I would really want to see this at least back to the previous day high, which would be 177, to find that next long. So if we do get that, I would be very interested in that move. So keeping very close tabs on that 177 today. If that doesn't happen, then it's going to have to be a chase, but I really don't have interest in chasing this. So looking for that 177 pullback long on Nvidia today. That would be the money trade. Keeping an eye on that. AMD. So AMD is very interesting to me today, and I will explain to you why. AMD has broken above a major weekly high. So take a look at AMD here. You have a major weekly high, and the next major high is at 187.50, and you have a pretty decent gap in between these, right? 174 to 187.50. You have a pretty straight up, straight down area here. And so this weekly high is exactly 174.05. This weekly high is exactly 174.55. So anywhere between 174.50, 174.55, if you can hold back above that, I think you're getting some opportunity here. So 174.55 to 174.05, you are holding above a double top on the weekly chart, which is huge, which is the exact high of day yesterday, right? You can see the AMD popped into that and failed yesterday. Now it has grinded back above it, and so if AMD finds buying here at 174, 174.55, there is probably a reason to be looking long here again today. And that is pretty much free air until this 184, 187 zone. So big watch today on AMD. Can we hold above a weekly double top high? That is the question, right here. Can we hold above this major weekly double top high right here? If so, I think you have every reason to be looking potentially long. All right, so big watch there on AMD. 174.50, 174.55. I'm sorry, 174.55 to 174. Keep an eye on that zone. Look to see if pullbacks get bought up here. Definitely interesting today. Broadcom, Break and retest over the all-time high, always a trade. Let's look for it again. You guys can see right here, 294 to 295. Look for that pullback long into that level. That would be a really nice watch to be looking for today. MRVL is sort of interesting. Now, the last time I traded MRVL, I got smoked looking for this gap fill. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious here, but MRVL pushing back into the 77 level after consolidating very nicely here. Little inverse head and shoulder low off this daily 50 SMA, which is looking like a bottoming formation to me. You have a very nice sector strength. You have a very nice gap to fill above to the 200 SMA at 83. If this can hold here, and if we can get a break and hold above 77, I think you're looking at your next sort of channel higher, your next market structure higher to 83. So keeping a tab on MRVL for sure here. ARM has earnings, so I'm probably going to stay away from ARM. ARM has earnings tomorrow. Not going to really get involved in this one too much, but you can see right here, 163, 164. Nice hold yesterday again. We'll see if it maintains. This 160 high is heavy, and just understand that earnings are tomorrow, so possibly a reason to stay away from that one. Goods trade balance, yeah, just not really moving the market, so we'll stay on track. Let's continue. Let's go to Netflix. So Netflix yesterday had a break and retest of previous day highs, which is where I took my trade, which was an awesome trade. Was up 20% on this trade to start the morning on a nice little previous day high break and retest, which was so clean. Was looking really, really good, man. Was like just getting pushed up with strength, and then just got absolutely obliterated at the $1,200 level. Took some profits off at that high, but just did not take enough profits off, and I also did not stick to my stop loss. So that's bad on me. But Netflix is still an interesting trade, right? But now it is very clear for me that I need to wait for 1,200 like I originally sort of wanted to. I saw that break and retest over previous day high and said maybe I can try that into the 1,200 for the breakout. And you can see that is not what happened. So 1,200 is absolutely a brick wall on Netflix, and I would wait for 1,200 for any type of long opportunity now after seeing that, right? I would just wait, very easily wait for a hold above 1,200. When that happens, you will likely make all your losses back. So I'm just going to wait for that. Google, waiting for over 195. Just keeping an eye on that one. Amazon, watching the 234. If you can get above that, let's see. Right, that's going to be another watch today. And then Meta, not so much interested in Meta because of earnings, but Meta continues to consolidate above this 712, 710 area. Continues to create this little inverse head and shoulder formation. And I would not be surprised to see this higher on earnings if this continues. But I'm not in the business of gambling earnings. So we'll see. We'll see if that can consolidate. But overall, like if you look at these names, Apple, Meta, Amazon, Google, Netflix, right? They're really just not performing at the same level of, Nvidia, AMD, and just major semiconductor name, Broadcom. Right? These are just so much stronger than everything else. It's basically sucking the rest of these stocks dry to an extent, right? They're still strong. Google still made a great move. Amazon's still on a great move, right? Don't get me wrong. These are still great moves on some of these tech names, but it's really the trading opportunities continue to just arise in the semiconductors. The intraday volatility, the clean price action, the semiconductors is the place to be. And I just got to stick it. I got to stay there. So, right, market goes up yesterday. I get stuck in this. I mean, it just sucks. All you can do is forget about it, man. That's all you can do. So moving forward, next Coinbase. Definitely interested in Coinbase today. Coinbase is at our golden zone, right? So when you create a golden zone, you got to stay interested when it comes back to it. Now, here's the problem. Coinbase has earnings in 2 days, so I don't really know if I have plans on longing Coinbase through earnings. Could I potentially look for a day trade today on Coinbase after holding, this 377, 380 demand zone? Could I get some interest in like a reclaim over 380 here, possibly for upside? Yeah, possibly. I'm a little bit cautious at these lows, though. I will be honest. I just sort of spotted this. If I put this on the charts, it's like this 388 spot. Yeah, a little bit cautious there. At that previous, I gotta make sure I put something here because That's a rightfully so cautionary area here, which you can see yesterday actually became a pretty clean rejection spot. So yeah, a little bit cautious there. I would say if Coinbase can reclaim that level, that would be your long, personally. If you can get back over this Wednesday and Friday low, right, and look for a little break and hold above that, then that would be a nice opportunity. Or you could try to long this exact demand low and trade it up into that 388, but that's a little bit more risky. So yeah, Coinbase is interesting. I'm a little bit more interested in Hood, which does have earnings as well. Sort of unfortunate, but Hood is very interesting. Hood was a really nice pullback long into the daily 20. All right, we got above these highs, right? You can see right here, previous highs turning into lows. This is perfect. This is setting up really nicely. Market structure, market structure, market structure, right? And that's what you're looking for. So this is really good. I like how Hood's holding over 104.50. I want to see it get over 108. If you can get over 108, then I think you continue. So definitely watching Hood there. Trade desk, beautiful hold over these highs around the 87. It's like 87.27, 87.30 spot. That was a really nice hold yesterday above that level. Nice breakout to start the morning. Today, I'm just going to be looking to see if you can hold previous day highs. So previous day highs on TTD were right here, right around this, right around this 88.65 area, right around this 88.65, 88.50 spot right there. Going to be looking to see if you can hold those previous day highs. If you can hold those previous day highs on TTD, you might continue this gap fill move up into the daily 200. So watching TTD for continuation, looking for that hold over PDH, or looking for that pullback. Definitely keep an eye on that. Datadog, keep an eye on Datadog over 152. This thing held up pretty nicely yesterday. Over 152 or back to 147. Those are some nice watches there. Palantir did exactly what you wanted yesterday, right? Remember we talked about this in the live stream yesterday? We said Palantir needs a pullback to 156. It did exactly that. So just a perfect read there on Palantir. 156, beautiful pullback. Does it create a long? Now, for this to create a long, I need a reclaim now, right? So this was a good long here. Very aggressive, but a good long here. But now, I need a reclaim over these lows, right? You can see right here, 159 is starting to reject. So for me, I'm not going to long into that 159 because it could be a lower high here. I would like to see a break and hold above 159. That would be my watch there. Aklo, still stuck under 76. I'm going to create an alert over 76. What else did I miss? I think we went over pretty much all of them. What else have I sort of been watching? APP looks pretty strong today. Actually looks very strong today. So you could keep an eye on, I'd say keep an eye on APP over 375, 380 right here. If APP can break over this 380 spot, I think you could get going again. So worth a watch there, APP 380. Bros, Aram, not really much price action here, man. Maybe you can see if it holds this 200 SMA. That's really what you'd want to see. You'd really like to see it hold like this 57 spot in this 200 SMA. But yeah, been recently not really, like this is, so for example, guys, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about. It has been so counterproductive and, just sort of silly is the right word, to trade anything but semiconductors. It really has been. Semiconductors just are going up and to the right. I mean, it's just what they're doing. And so, like, when you get yourself involved in something like this, it's really frustrating, right? I wouldn't involve yourself in stocks that are not the hot names, right? And it's just all semis. So just stay with semis. Like Uber, yeah, just hasn't really gone anywhere, right? So stop looking at Uber. It's just not, it's not. That's why I've stopped looking at it, because it's just not moving. Break under 90 is not good for Uber. It's probably going to go back to maybe like this 88 spot, possibly even back down to this 82 spot. It's just all semiconductors, guys. It's all semiconductors. Just keep watching Nvidia, keep watching AMD, watch some of the ancillary MRVL maybe. Keep a little eye on MU to see if that thing can wake up a little bit. Broadcom, right? It's just all these semi names. MU over 114 could get interesting again if it can get above that. But anything else out there, it's AI, it's semis, it's Bitcoin, that continues to be the trade. So keep your eyes there. Don't stray far from it. It's not necessary. Don't get yourself involved in stocks that aren't moving with the market. That's what I did yesterday, and I lost 15 grand yesterday, right? So that's there you can learn from my mistakes, right? The market goes, semiconductors are vertically higher, Netflix is vertically lower, and that there you go, right? There's an example for you. So if you're trading with the market and you're looking at this NASDAQ and ES, you have to understand that the NASDAQ market, literally probably, I don't know the exact percent, right? But call it 75% of the market upside is all based off of semiconductors, right? Whatever number that is, this upside is all Nvidia. It's all AMD. It's nothing else. So got to stick with it. Got to stick with it. Once the cards start tumbling on the semis, so will the market, right? But right now, that's what it's fueled by. So stay by the fuel. Stay by the fire. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. If you could, before you head out, please press that like button. Help me continue to grow the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I hope you guys have a fantastic trading day. I hope to, improve my day today. Just going to focus on getting some nice wins behind me. The focus is not to make back the full. It's just to get the momentum going again. So let's see how we do. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Or I will see you in the Discord. Peace and love.